One of the words that I hear used quite frequently is the word gentrification. And gentrification is quite a loaded word for me as an urban planner. My name is Malika Abernathy. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I am an urban planner here in the nation's capital. I work for the DC Office of Planning, and I am one of 8 Ward 4 planners. My approach is to ensure a process that provides everyone with the same opportunity to affect change and to participate in the planning process. And therefore, if you're more aware of how your neighborhood is going to develop, then you'll be more apt to get more information on how you can participate in the change that your neighborhood is undergoing. I always grew up in the city. I was one of 4 children of a working class family that grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I saw at many times, our community changing. And it piqued my interest when I was in an Upward Bound program in Cincinnati, Ohio, when I went to a program that was dedicated to community redevelopment and urban planning. And I had no idea that much of the change that we saw in our city was the foundation of a plan. Planning to me is also a kind of catch-all. If you think of a bucket, it kind of can be a catch-all. So it's got a huge opportunity for various professionals in various fields. So for example, how can you, through economic revitalization, use art to help be a catalyst for investment? Those are the types of discussions that we're having now, and we're really trying to think outside of the box to ensure that not only are our plans multifaceted, but also after the plan is completed, how do you implement the plan? And it may not be a situation where there's a significant amount of investment from the public or private sector available at the time the plan was completed. So using creative methods to help move our planning process forward after the plan is approved through implementation requires a different type of creativity. One of the things that drives me and engages me in the planning profession is the connection with people. We meet and we try to build consensus with many of the community stakeholders in the neighborhoods that we work in. And for me, that is imperative because our plans are essentially reflective of the adjacent residents in the neighborhood. And what is a plan without the input of the residents in the neighborhood? I think that as an African American woman, when I first started off, I was fairly young. I was oftentimes one in a room full of people. There was a disconnect at times with the community because I didn't look like them. And I think oftentimes in society, we look to folks that look like us for comfort. But I think because many of our issues are quite the same, that was a struggle that we were able to figure out. Ultimately, we all have quite similar issues. We all want our communities to flourish. We all want investment to be guided in our neighborhoods. I do think that it's quite important to take the extra effort to reach out to the neighborhoods that you're you're working in. As we talk about the future, as we talk about our future generations and redeveloping our commercial corridors and our neighborhoods, sustainability is a major topic of our small area plans. Historically, we only focused on land use and zoning, but nowadays, I think I reference kind of this bucket of opportunity. Sustainability is at the top, and from the mayor's perspective, Mayor Gray has worked very closely with our office on ensuring that the city has a plan for how sustainability can be part of our future development. And we've worked very hard on our Sustainable DC initiative, and we take elements of that sustainability plan and really have tried to engage that dialogue in our small area planning process as well. I think that our young people, in particular, need to also take the planning process quite seriously because the future is within their hands. And at times, as I talk about consensus building, it's very difficult to get certain groups to the table. And so what we're doing at the Office of Planning is really trying to figure out that, like, how can we get various people at the table in different ways. So that means outside of our traditional methods of just public meetings and sending notices out. But it also means using social media as a way for engaging a different group of people, trying to figure out how our mothers and our young families can participate in the planning process. What is the best way, for example, to get our senior citizens to the table who also have quite a historical background on the way that the neighborhood, from an existing conditions perspective, currently is. If you're a great writer and you like writing and communicating, there's a role for you in developing the plans. Obviously, public speaking, if you like to be kind of like the center stage, and helping to talk about larger topics, engaging people in larger communities, that might be your emphasis for planning. You might be more focused on the sustainability edge, and there's a huge opportunity for sustainability to identify sustainability and work with sustainability as an environmental planner, as well as a general planner. If your focus is more on creating various transportation options to make sure that our neighborhoods are connected and that folks can get to your particular neighborhood in a decent and quick manner, an inefficient manner, you might be more focused on further studying that from a transportation perspective. From an urban design perspective, you might have a fascination with the city and its built form and how that can be looped into the planning process and emphasized. Many of our neighborhoods, we need to our new development needs to be compatible with the existing development. And so what better way than to use an urban designer or an architect and bring them into the planning process. So that might be your focus. For me, the important thing is community engagement and participating in the planning process so that it can reflect the desires of the general community.